She sits drinking tea under a hairline crack in the ceiling. Something an appraiser with a good eye for rusty pipes, sinking foundations, and sighing walls might see fit to catalog in chicken scratch somewhere near the bottom of an itemized list. She lives in a basement apartment, and the sky is so far away she can only imagine it from here. Thunder cracks, reminding her of the woman who used to sit on the bench outside the studio, chewing stale slices of baguette. The newspaper says nothing about rain. "I need a drink," the older sister croons from the smoke-stained dungeon of her throat. Her naked body, so much thinner than when they were young, is an amalgamation of odd angles. She has stumbled into the kitchen, slapping gray tiles with her splotchy feet, and as she walks, she struggles to find the neck hole of a t-shirt with her head. The older sister doesn't like to sleep in underwear, or any other clothing for that matter, because clothing irritates her large clitoris, which, since her license was suspended, has been overstimulated by all the walking she's been doing, not to mention all the bumping into people. A man, her would-be lover, is asleep in the anteroom by the telephone. He is fully dressed. She has too recently emerged from a 2-year relationship with a woman. Since the breakup, penises have acquired a whole new glow. "There's nothing like that here," the younger sister says, wondering what happened with the man in the anteroom, if anything. "I don't keep that stuff around anymore, but there's tea if you want it." The older sister is silent. The circles under her eyes glow purple beneath the fluorescence. She can't help it. She wants what she wants. She cannot think of tea this early in the morning. "Fuck," she says, her voice cracking. She looks up to where her sister's eyes keep wandering, but she does not notice the crack in the ceiling. It is the day after the older one's arrival in town. She's here on business, electric car modeling. Day after day, she sits atop the computerized engines of electric cars and smiles, her blue or gold dress shimmering, her hair blowing in a fan-generated wind. The wind makes her dark hair look as though it never, couldn't possibly have ever, looked damp and limp like this, like it does now. The younger sister is jealous of the dresses, but not of the hours under the desiccating lamplight or the layers of makeup to hide the wrinkles from weight loss. In fact, she pities her sister for her involvement in the endless promotion of domestic cars that aren't currently selling as well as they should, what with the superior infrastructure in China. "How long are you staying anyway?" the younger asks. "I don't know. Why do you want to know? Are you kicking me out? Is this because of Pierre?" The older sister begins to hyperventilate. "Is that his name?" the younger sister mutters, staring into her cup. What's left of the Earl Grey is choked with debris, and she pushes it away. "I wasn't sure if you'd asked." "I didn't sleep with him, you know," the older one replies, as if congratulations were in order. The younger one just stares, her brown eyes vacant. A sudden craving for whiskey makes her morning tea seem far too tame, and she is reminded of a time when she and her sister were close, when they would hold each other's hair back on bad nights and lie to their parents, unrepentant, in the mornings. Despite all that's happened since, she does not want the older sister to leave, not yet. For over a year, the house has been contaminated by dust. The air is stale and cottony, and there's a buzzing sound coming from somewhere, possibly static from the first edition RCA TV that turns its screen on at will, often in the middle of the night. It sits there on its stand, a vague tribute to things past. There is no analog, no cable, no DVD. No TV is a frazzling predicament, an excuse not to get things done. Long days of forgetting. "You're not fooling anyone, not having booze in the house," the older sister says, her nose in the air. "I mean, what exactly have you been doing with yourself? Not cleaning, I see." She swipes her index finger across the countertop and holds it up for the other to see. Caustically, she eyes her younger sister's loose cotton clothes, the loose cotton headband holding back her hair. "Don't tell me you're doing yoga again, just like after the baby." "I like doing yoga. It has nothing to do with that." She shudders, remembering how the baby grew cold in her arms, how her fiancé berated her for being too frigid to mourn him. But she was not convinced. For a long time, in her dreams, she carried him to safety. "Then take those maternity pictures and save the date cards off the fridge, for God's sakes. Move on. Have a drink with your big sis." She grins like a dog in hot weather, her face devoid of emotion. The younger sister is accustomed to being casually excoriated by the other, but now that acid voice merely prickles her thick skin. It's pins and needles, and it doesn't draw blood. She's inured to it as she is to the alcohol breath, the pubic displays, the tedious parading of sex. The older sister was once a Lamborghini model, incidentally. The younger one carries a dull blade for her sister, and she works it in with patience. "Why don't you get it over with, whatever you're doing with Pierre?" the younger sister says. "And don't bring a guy here again unless you intend to sleep with him. Fucking I can get, but this?" She leans back in her chair and glances at the man in the anteroom. "So young guys still want you at your age. I'm impressed." She gathers up her things and goes out. When she slams the door behind her, she hears the thunder down the hall. The older sister stares furiously at the teacup, sweeps her left hand across the table, and knocks it to the far wall. It doesn't smash there, but on the floor, and the leftover tea and bits of ceramic scatter and spew toward the older sister's bare feet. She laughs bitterly. "Pierre," she calls, "come lick this up and I'll take you to the bedroom." The man stirs in his chair. A cold sweat trickles down his forehead. The woman's voice from the other room jogs a memory of the previous night. "What? You heard me." He gets up, realizes he is fully clothed, and sighs, disappointed. The kitchen is far brighter than any room he has ever been in, he is certain. The older sister stands there, Catherine to him, her pubic hairlessness striking and possibly infantile. He feels a jolt in his pants beneath the zipper, deafening him to the voices in his head that tell him to cool off. Once a lesbian, always a lesbian. "Did you call me Pierre?" he asks. A drop drips on him from the crack in the ceiling. He looks up. "'Cause my name's... You know what? My sister's a cunt," she mutters, pacing the floor. "Judgy little bitch cunt." She retrieves a broom and dustpan from the corner closet and begins to sweep up the wet mess. The bristles of the broom spread the tea around. There is no mop anywhere. Minutes pass, during which the man opens and closes cabinets, looking for a glass to fill with water. All he can seem to find are plates. Without warning, Catherine sinks to her knees and begins to weep. The man doesn't move. He starts to realize how cold it is. Slowly, quietly, he backs out of the room, gathers his coat from the chair, and slips out the front door. Out on the street it is gray and the wind is wet, but he whistles to himself, glad to be out of that strange apartment with the smell of mildew emanating from every corner. It's something to do with that crack in the ceiling. The spot where the drop hit his head is still cold. There must be a bathtub above, a leaky faucet. He rubs his fingers against the spot, and the image of Catherine's bald groin comes rushing back to him like a piano falling. God, he was drunk last night. A dark-haired woman smirks at him as he passes. She cradles a heavy black liquor store bag in her arms like it's a sleeping child. In her steady eyes, he catches a glint of recognition, although he could swear he's never seen her before in his life. Maybe she works at the club, he thinks. But even though she's out before 10 a.m. buying booze, she doesn't seem to be that kind of girl. Club girls wear their clothes like a second skin and walk with legs slightly bowed as if inviting the wind to penetrate them from behind. This woman's loose clothes and bare face, her overall paleness, suggests she's been too long indoors. He can see she might have been beautiful at some time or other, young. "I know you from somewhere," he says, turning. She shakes her head, keeps walking. "Well, can I help you with that?" "You're kidding, right?" She laughs. He keeps watching her, undeterred, aware of the saunter she's picked up just now. She wants him to follow her, and he feels another jolt below the belt. He goes for it, taking in every inch of her. He tails her all the way up the block and back to that door. Of course, the one he's just come out of. At the gate, she rummages in her purse for the key, holding her purchase on one hip, another maternal pose. He stands back 10, 11 feet, afraid. Afraid she'll look back and see him, the fool who spent the night in her chair, because now he does remember seeing her. Not exactly, a photograph of her in ballet gear. Her hair tied in a knot so tight her eyes draw back at the corners. Beautiful. "My sister's cunt," he remembers hearing. He watches her go inside the gate, watches it swing closed behind her, watches. She skips up the stairs, takes them two at a time, the dull thud of cheap liquor in harmony with the hammering of her heart.